Hey everybody, watch this review here with part 2 of my video response to the Reviewspot's 2010 Census, Getting to Know You, the Collector. Obviously if you're watching this, you might have seen the first one, but if you haven't seen the first part, probably makes more sense to watch the first part, then the second part, but hey, who am I to judge? You guys can live your life any way you want. If you want to watch the first part, then the second, or the first part but not the second, or the second part but not the first, hey, go ahead. More power to you. But for those of you who have been watching since part 1, I cut off halfway through question 6. What character that is yet to be made into a figure would you like to see get made into a toy? Answered for Marvel, Jubilee, but for DC, haven't picked one. DC, there are a lot of figures I'd like to see get either made or remade. For one thing, I'd like to see a kind of Arkham Asylum Killer Croc. Business Suit Lex Luthor, that's a definite. And actually, there's also Poison Ivy. In both Lex's case, which he really should have been the Public Enemies line, and the Collect and Connect for that line should have been a battle armor for him, in touch with what they actually had for the Public Enemies film. But Poison Ivy, it'd be really cool if for her wave they had like some sort of a CNC giant plant thing, but I guess they'd probably want to do characters instead of plants. You know what? My top want right now, I think, would actually be a Collect and Connect Starro. I think that would be pretty freaking cool. Actually, no, wait. Changing that. I want a Brainiac, I think. I believe they did one already, but no, I'll have to go with the Starro, because I believe they did a Brainiac, and then for the last question I should have answered Brainiac, but with better articulation, because I want a robot Brainiac, and they haven't really done one that looks decent so far. Then again, actually, I really prefer the Scarecrow for the last question, so Brainiac would be one of the runner-up answers. Also, one of the runner-up answers for the Marvel figure that I would really want is I'd want a Build-A-Figure of Shumo Gorath, I guess he was primarily a Doctor Strange villain. I can't think of who else he did this, but I believe I first learned about him in the Marvel Superheroes, the original fighting game back in the arcades, and he's just a pretty cool character, and since then I've seen him a bit, and I think he'd be a pretty kick-ass Build-A-Figure, especially because you can toss in like additional tentacles and stuff there, so like you can buy variants and then those pieces would fit into it, and that would be pretty hot. But long story short, I'm going with Jubilee from Marvel Legends and Collect and Connect Starro for the DC Universe Classics. That was terribly roundabout, though. Question 7. What is the most you've spent on a figure toy from that line, and what figure was it? I believe the most I've spent for Marvel has been on the Sentinels. I paid, I think it was $80 shipped for my first Sentinel, which came with an additional leg and a first appearance Wolverine from the Versus packs. I don't believe I spent more than that so far on the Marvel Legends. Probably won't either. The second one I got a bit cheaper. I think it was like 70 something shipped, but that was just the Sentinel. I've actually had pretty horrible luck there, because some people have managed to pick up Sentinels, including shipping and handling, for $50 or $60, but I've missed a few opportunities. Non-Build-A-Figure, nothing really stands out. I believe I paid, I think almost all of them I probably paid under $20 for the individual figures. DC Universe Classics, I paid, I think it was around $90 for the Giganta, including shipping and handling. That was a total waste. Giganta is a pretty crappy figure, and a lot of the Build-A-Figure pieces do have flaws in it, but I wasn't able to find her in stores just because that wave was kind of difficult to find, especially the Gentleman Ghost part. As for a lot of the DC figures have run me over 20, but usually under 30. The most expensive non so far has been the Riddler, which I picked up for 45 shipped, or was it 50 shipped? Which basically is like practically the same price I paid for the entire frickin' Wave 5 of the DC Universe Classics, the reissue off Matty Collector. Actually, it would be about half, because I think with shipping it was about 90. That's one of the big turnoffs, too, about the entire DC Universe Classics wave, because I can kind of understand paying more for the Marvel stuff just because it is a bit older. It's going back to, like, the early 2000s. But, I mean, the DC waves haven't really been out that long. It's only been out, like, 3 years, and yet so many of these figures are fetching all kinds of money, which, I mean, it just seems like all sorts of messed up. I guess it's probably because they do, like, 3 or 4 waves. Actually, it's probably like close to 5 waves a year between the store exclusives and everything, and they probably do like lower runs. So, I mean, it's a lot tougher to get your hands on a lot of that stuff. So, it definitely sucks. And now for question 8. In your opinion, what do you consider to be the holy grail from that toy line that you would like to get one day? Now, that's kind of ambiguous. I mean, Holy Grail might mean just the penultimate figure, but I believe that's more phrases like what your personal Holy Grail is. And at this point, I still haven't picked up a Juggernaut from the Marvel Legends series. I mean, I've came close several times, but I'm trying to get it for a certain price because, you know, if you just... money's no object. I mean, there's really no challenge to it, and, you know, the whole thing just kind of takes the thrill of the chase away. I mean, the bargain hunting is a large part of the thrill for a lot of the collecting I do. For DC, shoot, at one point I was going to say Metallo, but I did pick up the Wave 5 now. It just hasn't arrived yet. I've also picked up all of Wave 13 at this point. I'm actually kind of close to pretty much getting everybody I ever wanted, so I don't know. I still want the Lex Luthor from the Gotham City 5-pack, just because I don't have a decent Lex Luthor, but for the DC Superheroes line, you know, I've honestly got nothing. I can't think of a single thing. I mean, maybe the business suit Clark Kent. Although I guess I still need a Catwoman, even though I keep mocking how the Catwoman looks, I do want to pick one up. Although I want to wait until they come out with a better looking Catwoman, so it's kind of not it either. I guess for ones coming out, I do want the Martian Manhunter, but I mean that's a pretty easy grail to get. Also want the Raven, which again is going to be kind of easy. You know what? The one Collect and Connect I really want going forward is the Ultra Humanite from the next Walmart exclusive wave, but I'll probably buy that one loose, so I guess that is kind of a holy grail, just because I don't want most of that wave. But, absolute holy grails between all figure lines, I would want to pick up a Saber Lily Figma, which was a Figma released with the PS2, one of the PS2 Fate Stay Night games. I mean, it's basically the same as a Lily. As a Saber, who you've seen in any number of my videos now. But instead of having blue, it's got like a white scheme, which looks really cool. I've also got to pick up the sort of dark one. I forget what it's called, because I never actually played the games for that, but I saw the anime. But the other really absolute grail, which I guess is the biggest of them all, is the Four Horsemen. I think back in 2000, 2006, 2007, released a set of 7 Minotaurs. I would honestly like to get one of them, but no matter what happens, they always seem to slip out of my grasp. Let me pull one up real quick. Well, for instance, this auction closed early for some reason. I don't know if they just canceled out bids and then they closed the auction because they didn't think the price was high enough, or if I just absolutely and stupidly missed a legitimate chance to pick this one up cheap. But this is Zethius, which I think is probably kind of the corniest of the Minotaurs, just because he is freaking blue. More of a Smurfatar than a Minotaur, but hey, he looks flipping awesome, so no bigs. But I mean, typically when you see these guys pop up on eBay or someplace, mint in box, they run over 80, which I don't feel like paying for it, and loose. Usually gets up to the 50 range, which again, I don't feel like paying for it. So part of the whole hunt is I want to pick one up for under 40, shipped obviously. And just any of them from the set, although at some point I'd probably want to own like multiples from the same set, because they do have like minor differences in addition to color and just armor and weapons. The other one that I still have to pick up is they did a Queen's Guard series of like cat chicks, I think last year, and I mean they're still available and pretty widely available in some places, but I just haven't gotten around to buying them.